Welcome back my dear students. In this video we will be discussing about some examples of linear functional. So example number 2. So f is a function defined from r cube to r, which is defined as f of x is equal to x dot a, where a is a fixed vector in R cube. So if you denote a by alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3 and x by some theta 1, theta 2, theta 3, f of x it should be equal to x dot a, which by the definition of dot product should be equal to theta 1 alpha 1 plus theta 2 alpha 2 plus theta 3 alpha 2. So this is what f of x. So this is actually we are fixing a vector and the image of every element is taking the dot product of with the element a. Okay, that's the idea. We have to prove that this is actually a linear functional. So in order to prove that it's a functional, the definition is itself, because it's actually R cube is a vector space from R cube to the set of all real numbers. So this is actually a functional. Now it's the only thing which remains to prove that it's actually linear. So for that, taking the custom condition, f of x plus y should be equal to, by definition, x plus y dot a. By definition of dot product or the properties of dot product, which can be written as x dot a plus y dot, which is equal to f of x plus f of y. So the first condition of linearity is satisfied. Now the second condition is f of alpha x, which should be equal to alpha x dot a. Now from alpha x we can take the scalar alpha outside. So the vector part is actually x. So this can be written as alpha times x dot a, because x and a are the vectors. So we should be equal to alpha times f of x. So both the condition is satisfied, which means that f is linear. So f is actually a linear functional. So this is an example of a linear functional, which is defined from R cube to R, which is defined as taking the dot product with an arbitrarily fixed vector in R cube. Also, this linear functional is actually bounded. So f is bounded. So f is bounded. In order to prove that, we have to find a c such that modulus of f of x less than or equal to c into norm x. So f of x should be defined as x dot a. So modulus of f of x should be equal to modulus of x dot a. Now clearly understood that, so f dot a is actually theta 1 alpha 1 plus theta 2 alpha 2 plus theta 3 alpha 3 summation. Now using the Holder's inequality, if we substitute p and q as 2, this can be written as, this is actually less than or equal to theta 1 square plus theta 2 square plus theta 3 square, the whole raised to 1 by 2 times alpha 1 square plus alpha 2 square plus alpha 3 square, the whole raised to 1 by 2. Okay. Now clearly from this is actually norm x, because in R cube the norm is, usual norm is defined as the sum of square root of the squares of the individual components. So this is actually norm x and this is actually norm a. So this is actually less than or equal to norm x times norm a, using the definition of norm in R. We have generally defined the norm in R. So clearly modulus of f of x is less than or equal to, clearly modulus of f of x is less than or equal to norm a times norm x. Here C is taken as norm a, which is a fixed number, fixed positive number, since a is a fixed number. Okay. So from this it is clear that f is bounded. And also if you move this norm x onto the left hand side, we can rewrite this equation as, so this can rewrite as modulus of f of x by norm x should be less than or equal to norm a for all x element of P of f. So which means that if you take the collection of all mod x by norm x, this is actually, norm a is actually an upper bound. Okay. So this is actually an upper bound. Now take the supremum. Each of this element is less than norm a. Now take the supremum x element of d of f x not equal to 0 modulus of f of x by norm x should be less than or equal to norm a. This is actually a supremum. We are only taking the this is actually an upper bound. We are taking the supremum. Supremum is less than or equal to upper bound. Now by definition this left hand side is norm f. So clearly norm f is less than or equal to norm a. Okay. Now this is equation number 1. Moving on. Also norm f is always greater than or equal to modulus of f of a by norm a. Okay. Because norm x is actually the supremum of all this collection. Supremum is actually an upper bound. So by using the definition of upper bound, norm f is always greater than or equal to this quantity if we put x is equal to a. Now using the Holder's inequality, which should be equal to modulus of a dot a. Here instead of x we substitute a by norm a. Okay. So a dot a should be equal to norm a the whole square. The equality holds in Holder's inequality when the two quantities are equal. Okay. Now cancelling the whole thing, we get x is equal to 1. So that is norm f is greater than or equal to norm a. Now by from condition 1 and 2, norm f is less than or equal to norm a. Norm f is greater than or equal to norm a. From condition 1 and 2 we can write it as norm f should be equal to norm a. Okay. So here the norm of the operator is actually norm of the vector which we have fixed is equal to norm a. So our functional which is defined on R cube in terms of the dot product is actually a linear functional, and it is also bounded with regards to its norm as norm a. Now moving on to another example, example 3, which is defined in terms of definite integral. So consider the vector space x is equal to CAB, set of all continuous function on closed interval AB. Now define for every x of t in CAB, define our linear functional as f from x to r as f of x is equal to integral a to b x of t dt. So, this is actually a linear functional. We have to prove that it is actually a linear functional. So, this is actually a bounded linear function. It is a functional from the definition itself, from which is defined from a vector space onto R. So, this is actually a functional. Now, it is enough to prove that it is actually linear. So, consider alpha 1, alpha 2 scalars and x of t and y of t belongs to CAB. Now, f of alpha 1 x plus alpha 2 y should be equal to, by definition, integral a to b alpha 1 x of t plus alpha 2 y of t dt. Now, use the basic properties of integral. This can be written as alpha 1 into integral a to b x of t dt plus alpha 2 into integral a to b y of t dt. So, we should be equal to alpha 1 into f of x plus alpha 2 into f of y. So, from this property it is clear that f is actually linear. So, this is using the basic properties of integral. So, f is actually a linear functional. Now, it is enough to prove that it is actually a bounded linear function. So, f is bounded. In order to prove that f is bounded, observe that norm x on CAB is the maximum t element of closed interval AB modulus of x of t. This is actually norm. So, modulus of f of x should be equal to, by definition, modulus of integral a to b x of t dt, which should be less than or equal to integral of modulus of x of t dt by the basic properties of integral. Now, norm x is the maximum of all modulus of x of t where t belongs to AB. So, clearly modulus of x of t should be less than or equal to norm x. So, this is less than or equal to integral a to b norm x times dt. Norm x is a fixed number which should be equal to norm x into integral a to b dt. Now, integral a to b dt is actually b minus a. It should be equal to norm x into b minus a. That is, modulus of f of x is actually less than or equal to b minus a times norm x, which means that f is bounded. Okay. Now, from this we can easily find the norm as well. Modulus of f of x by norm x is actually less than or equal to b minus a. So, which means that b minus a is the upper bound of set of all collection of modulus of f of x by norm x. Now, take the supremum. If you take the supremum x element of d of f x not equal to 0 modulus of f of x by norm x. Since each of this element is less than b minus a, this should also be less than b minus a. Okay. Now, this is actually norm f, which implies norm f is less than or equal to b minus a. Okay. Equation number 1. Norm f is less than b minus a. Now moving on. So if we take x of t as the function 1, so norm f is actually the supremum of all modulus of f of x by norm x. So norm f should be greater than or equal to modulus of f of x of t by norm x of t. Okay. Now x of t is 1. So norm f of x of t is actually 1. So modulus of f of x of t is actually, so we should be equal to modulus of integral a to b 1 dt by 1. Since we have chosen a particular case of x of t is equal to 1, this should be equal to modulus of b minus a by 1. Modulus of b minus a is actually b minus a. So from this we can clearly understand that modulus of norm of f is actually greater than or equal to b minus a. Equation number 2. So norm f is less than or equal to b minus a and norm f is greater than or equal to b minus a. From this equation 1 and 2, we can clearly understand that norm f should be equal to b minus a. From this two equation, we can clearly state that norm f should be equal to b minus a. So if you define our linear functional as in terms of the integral operator on closed interval ab, then its norm should be equal to b minus a. So that's the basic idea behind the whole thing. So I hope you understood this. Another example of a linear functional is example number 4. On CAB, x is equal to CAB set of all continuous function on closed interval AB, and f from x to r defined as f of x is equal to x of t naught for a fixed t naught element of closed interval AB. So what we are going to do is, we are choosing a particular real number in between a and b, and for every element x, which means for every function which is defined on capital X, we are taking the value of the function at the point t naught. So which is actually our functional. So clearly it's a functional. Now we have to prove that it is linear. For that, take scalars alpha 1, alpha 2 and vectors x comma y belongs to capital X. This is actually scalar which belongs to the underneath field. So f of alpha 1 x plus alpha 2 y should be equal to, by definition, alpha 1 x plus alpha 2 y at the point t naught. Now by the definition of function with respect to t naught, we can define this as alpha 1, which is a constant, times x of t naught plus alpha 2 times y of t naught. Because alpha 1, alpha 2 are scalars, t naught is the value of the function at the point. T naught is a point in closed interval AB, so take the value of the function x and y at the point t naught. Now x of t naught is f of x and y of t naught is f of y. So it should be equal to alpha 1 f of x plus alpha 2 f of y. From this itself, we can clearly understand that f is linear. Okay. So f is actually a linear functional. Now we can clearly prove that, easily prove that f is actually bounded. So next objective is to prove that f is bounded. F is bounded. Okay. Clearly, modulus of f of x equal to modulus of x of t naught by definition. And we know that in CAB, norm x is equal to maximum t element of closed interval AB modulus of x of t. T naught is a particular element of closed interval AB. So, this norm x consisting of the maximum of all x of t where the element of closed interval AB should be greater than x of t naught. So, clearly x of t naught should be less than or equal to norm x. Okay. So, by definition of the norm itself. So, this is less than or equal to norm x because t naught is a particular point on closed interval AB. While defining norm x, we are taking the maximum over all t belongs to closed interval AB. So, which means that modulus of f of x is actually less than or equal to 1 into norm x. So, if we take c as 1, we can clearly understand that f is bounded. Okay. Now f is bounded, which means that modulus of f of x by this inequality by norm x should be less than or equal to 1. Now if we take the supremum, each of this element is less than 1 means its supremum is less than 1. Its supremum is actually norm f. So clearly norm f is less than or equal to 1 by equation number 1. Now moving on, if you take x of t as the unit function 1, which clearly a continuous function on closed interval 0 AB. So if we take our x as 1, the unit function, constant function, then x of t naught should always be 1. And clearly norm f is the supremum over all x such that modulus of f of x by norm x. If we take the particular value at x is equal to 1, this norm f should be greater than those particular value, that is this should be greater than modulus of f of x by norm x, because norm f is actually supremum over all collection of x such that modulus of f of x by norm x. Now substitute x is equal to 1 by f modulus of f of x means modulus of x of t naught. Since x is equal to 1, norm x should be equal to 1. So x of t naught is 1 implies 1. So from this norm f is actually greater than or equal to 1. Equation number 2. From 1 and 2, we can clearly understand that norm f is equal to 1. Okay. So from 1 and 2, norm f should be equal to 1. 1 and 2 implies. So clearly our norm is actually a bounded linear operator. So with respect to any point t element of closed interval AB, we can actually define a linear functional on CAB. So actually from that itself we can found an infinite class of linear functional in CAB, because for each t naught belongs to closed interval AB, we can define a linear functional as f of x is equal to x of t naught. The number of t naught belongs to closed interval AB is actually uncountable and infinite. So we can actually, using this definition, we can actually define infinite class of linear functionals. Next example, example 5. So on L square, on L2, we can define a linear functional. Here the space x is L2, our linear functional f is defined as f from L2 to R, defined by f of x should be equal to summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j times alpha j, where x is equal to sequence theta j and a is equal to sequence alpha j, which is actually fixed, and both of them, this is actually fixed and both of them belongs to L2. So this is actually a functional. We have to prove that it is actually linear. This sum is actually absolutely convergent, this sum. Now, in order to prove that it's actually linear functional, we have to take an x which is equal to sequence theta j and y it should be equal to sequence eta j and constants alpha 1 comma alpha 2, or alpha 1 is more than enough, one constant is more than enough to establish. So alpha x plus y which should be equal to alpha theta j plus eta j. This is that sequence. Now f of alpha x plus y should be equal to, by definition, summation j is equal to 1 to infinity alpha theta j plus eta j times alpha j. Okay, so this can be written as, since the series is absolutely convergent, each of these component series is absolutely convergent, because f of x is defined, f of y is defined. So each of these component series is absolutely convergent. So we can split the sum. So summation j is equal to 1 to infinity alpha theta j alpha j plus summation j is equal to 1 to infinity eta j alpha j. Okay, so this, which can be written as, which should be equal to alpha into summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j alpha j plus summation j is equal to 1 to infinity eta j alpha j. It should be equal to alpha into times f of x plus f of y. So f of alpha x plus y should be equal to alpha f of x plus f of y, which means that f is linear. So we have established that f is linear. It's a linear function. Now we can clearly prove that f is actually bounded. So for that we have to take that modulus of f of x. We have to find the value of modulus of f of x. So f is bounded. So that modulus of f of x should be equal to modulus of summation j is equal to 1 to infinity theta j times alpha j. Now by Cauchy-Schwarz inequality, this should be less than or equal to, first of all, this can be, the summation can be written inside. Okay, so this is actually less than or equal to summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j alpha j. Then apply the Cauchy-Schwarz inequality. Okay, this is using triangle inequality on infinite sums. Now by Cauchy-Schwarz inequality, this should be less than or equal to square root of summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of theta j the whole square times square root of summation j is equal to 1 to infinity modulus of alpha j the whole square. By the definition of norm on L2, this is actually norm x. This is actually norm A. So from that we can clearly state that modulus of f of x should be less than or equal to norm x times norm a. So if we take C as norm a, clearly modulus of f of x should be less than or equal to C into norm x, which means that f is actually bounded. This inequality obtained from Cauchy-Schwarz inequality. Okay, that's the reason. Okay, so I hope you understood this part. So these are some examples of linear functionals which is defined on some arbitrary spaces.